DETV News is brought to you by DART, Delaware Public Transit Service, moving you forward.
We're here at 26th and North Market Streets in Wilmington on the latest on the shooting last night that injured 3 Wilmington police officers. Now, we are getting unconfirmed reports that the shooter has died of self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Police issued a statement around 10:30 this morning saying that residents are no longer asked to shelter in place and that there is no immediate threat to the public at this time. We're told the investigation is ongoing and police will release further information as it becomes available. Now, last night around 10:30 p.m., officers were responding to a call for service at the King Plaza apartment buildings at 25th and Market Streets, where a gunman inside opened fire. 3 officers were shot and taken to local hospitals. Officials all say that the 3 officers are in stable condition.
It just sounded like anarchy last night. It was police all over the place, people saying that somebody got shot. It was just a lot of, helicopters and police presence. I've never seen anything like that before. It was shocking to find out that, somebody shot 3 police officers, because normally, you don't get that around.
Early this morning, using a fire truck ladder, SWAT team members entered the apartment building that was the center of an hours-long standoff. Minutes later, women and small children exited from the window. Now, what's not clear is if their connection to the shooting and the standoff is connected at this point. We also were not sure if anyone else was inside the building at the time that the women and young children did escape. Governor John Carney said on social media this morning, quote, "Tracy and I are praying for the Wilmington Police Department officers shot in the line of duty, their families, and their fellow members of Delaware's law enforcement community." Now, of course, we'll continue to monitor the situation here in Wilmington and bring the latest to you here on DETV News. For now, I'm going to send it back to Lauren in the studio.
Hello, and welcome to DETV News, Delaware's trusted news source. I'm Lauren Wilson. Topping the news this week in Delaware is a bill that will soon become law after Governor John Carney signs it to make it official. Laura's Act will crack down on people who pass school buses when its red lights are flashing. Take a look at why.
Don't rush the red. Parents and lawmakers are hoping a new bill aimed to get the attention of drivers will have them pay more attention to students getting on and off the school bus by hitting them where it hurts the most, their wallet. This dramatic video captured by cameras inside a red clay school bus in 2017 shows a high schooler, Laura, preparing to board. Red Clay Assistant Superintendent Ted Amon says the most dangerous part of a student's school day is getting on and off the school bus.
We have seen that the cameras are catching motorists doing this. We've been seeing, on average, 3 motorists a day just from our 40 cameras. We've been seeing three times a day that a motorist is going past a stop arm that's flashing. So we believe that once we start sending the citations and people start seeing the PSAs that we do and hearing about this bill, they will change their driving habits, and it'll keep our kids safer.
As soon as Ted Amon saw the video, he sprang into action and through his research found that nearly 24 states around the country have laws that enable school districts to place cameras on school buses to catch drivers passing illegally. Delaware House Bill 120, dubbed Laura's Law, would allow footage collected from cameras on school buses to be used to issue violations to drivers who disregard traffic laws.
What we're looking for after Red Clay runs the program, we see the data, see what types of fines they are accumulated. We're hoping that we'll show that to the General Assembly and we'll expand it to a statewide program. Any fines that are collected are used to buy cameras, maintenance, public service announcement to help get this program up and going. And it would also be there for charter schools and other school districts eventually. That's our end goal.
Red Clay officials tell us that so far 40 of their buses are equipped with these cameras you see here, and soon they hope to have their entire fleet covered as well. If passed, the law would require buses with the cameras to have signs notifying drivers of the potential fines. The proposed fines would start at $100 for the first offense and increase to $500 for each additional offense.
Well, it's something that needed to be done. It's something that we see on a daily basis, not just in this school district, but throughout the state. As people get more and more in a hurry to get to work, to get to where they want to go, they disregard the traffic safety measures that are in place, and we see it on a daily basis that the most paramount thing that we can do is protect our children's safety, especially when they're obviously going to school.
You may ask yourself, isn't there already a fine for passing a stopped school bus? You are correct. You still can be pulled over by the police, but the problem is hundreds of motorists a day pass stopped school buses, and that's where officials hope that these school bus cameras can really help crack down on the problem. Officials tell us that DelDOT, the Delaware State Police, and the Department of Justice all support this bill. Districts would also be required to release public service announcements warning drivers that the cameras are in use. The ultimate goal of this bill, to hopefully make Laura's Act a statewide initiative. Matt Ford, DETV News.
Thanks, Matt. Keep us updated on when the legislation becomes law. On Tuesday, Newcastle County Executive Matt Meyer announced a proposal to direct the first distribution of federal stimulus funds to intensive learning programs for children who have experienced severe learning loss during the pandemic. Meyer wants County Council to approve up to $500,000 for the Reading Assist program and the Red Clay Freedom School. Reading Assist provides services to children with most significant reading challenges. Funds from Newcastle County would pay for startup materials and equipment for the summer reading program. Freedom Schools provides summer and after-school enrichment programs. The county executive says he has high hopes the federal funding will help close the learning gap.
Look, the bottom line for us is that these are very serious problems. In some ways, some of the most serious problems our elementary, middle, high schools have had in decades and generations, for students to lose a year or more of learning, and particularly in communities of color, particularly in lower income communities where they've really been, their schools have been devastated the last year and a half. We don't want money to be a consideration. We want teachers and principals to know we got your backs. This is important to you. It's important to parents and families, but it's also of the utmost importance to us.
Governor John Carney says the state is still pushing to get 70% of all Delawareans vaccinated by July 4th. That's the national goal set by President Biden on Tuesday. He reminded residents about an incentive program called DE Wins, a lottery that could mean a big payoff for people who get vaccinated before June 29th. In other news, tenured faculty members at Wesley College are asking a judge to halt its pending acquisition by Delaware State University. The lawsuit filed last week claims that Wesley breached its contractual obligations to faculty members and challenges the acquisition by Delaware State as a fraudulent transfer of assets. Wesley is a 148-year-old private school in Dover. It has struggled for years with declining enrollment and financial problems, but has been propped up by millions of dollars in taxpayers' money. Delaware State agreed last year to acquire Wesley and assume its liabilities. Also in Dover, there's a new place in the first state to gather, heal, and remember the lives lost to COVID-19 during the pandemic. The Presbyterian Church of Dover symbolically remembers those who died from COVID-19 in the state with painted tubes. Church spokesman David Denny says, based on each month, each tube represents a person who passed away in Delaware because of the pandemic, and the colors represent the birthstone for the month. The Delaware COVID-19 Remembrance Memorial Garden is now open at the church and will remain open through the end of July. Each of the tubes are backlit, providing another dimension of the work, and they will remain illuminated from 7 p.m. through midnight every day. Denny says the purpose is simple, to give people a place to remember those lost, something he says hasn't been done anywhere else in the country. Well, coming up next is our health report after this break. Stay tuned.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
We're back with more news on the health front. Here with more is our health correspondent, Donnie Smith.
The COVID vaccine in your children. As adults, we have our fair share of concerns regarding the safety of the vaccine, but that decision hits just a bit differently when talking about your baby or your teen. I held a social media poll yesterday to ask my friends and followers, did they plan to vaccinate their children? And to my surprise, the poll was split 50-50. Prevalent is the concern regarding information available, long-term effects, but with the counterpoint of those parents that want to follow the science and return to some sort of normalcy. More than that, families want to be reunited, especially with grandparents, and do not want to risk a breakout infection. Here in the state of Delaware, children as young as 12 years old are eligible to be vaccinated. Right now, only the Pfizer vaccine has been approved for use, but Moderna and J&J should be available by September. It is highly likely that by late 2021, children ages 5 to 11 will be eligible for vaccination, with babies and toddlers by sometime in 2022. Here's what you need to know. The Pfizer vaccine is the same for children as the one used for adults, and the side effects are very similar in symptoms and the quick recovery time. Schools are starting to hold vaccination events to attract children specifically. I had the opportunity to chat with Forrest Watson, the Director of Wellness for Life Health Centers. Forrest shared more about the first event, which was held 2 weeks ago with great success. 250 attendees, and 65% were aged 12 to 17. They are expecting to increase their attendance for their second event, which will be held at Eisenberg Elementary on June 12th, where first and second doses will be administered. In particular, he spoke about the care of preparing young people for the vaccine and how to alleviate their concerns.
We want to educate because there's a lot, like you said, a lot of misnomers, a lot of misinformation, miscommunication. But we also don't want to ignore that there's fear out there. So we want to validate the fear. We want to identify it, and we want to put some answers to it. Now, there's things that of course, there's a lot of unknowns with it, but there are things that what we know about the vaccine. So we actually educate. We give them all the information that the known side effects. Tell them that if you have extreme itchiness, redness, fatigue, that those things are normal now, but they are in excess, or if you're a little too discomfort, then you can give us a call. There's ways to mitigate a lot of these symptoms. And there's, along with our medical director, Dr. Herman Ellis, he has created, not necessarily created, but he's extremely involved with the managing of COVID. Now, there's clearly not a cure for it yet, but there are things to make the transition or fighting the virus internally more manageable. So we try to communicate that as best as possible.
Anyone, adult or child, who is interested in receiving the vaccine and cannot make the event can call the Life Health Center at 302-429-4083 to schedule an appointment. I'm Donnie Bougeli Smith. This is your Health and Lifestyle Report for the week. See you next time.
Thanks, Donnie. The pandemic created more food insecurity nationally when many people either lost their jobs or faced reduced hours. To help here in the first state, the Food Bank of Delaware announced it will host drive-through mobile pantries in each of the 3 Delaware counties this month. All 3 counties will be held next week, with the first one scheduled for Monday, June 7th at the Crossroad Community Church in Georgetown. The food bank is asking recipients to make sure their trunks or back seats are cleared out so volunteers can load the food. Pre-registration is requested, but for those who don't, on-site registration will be available. Assistance is limited to 1 household, and attendees must be present to receive the assistance. The food bank is prepared to serve up to 1,000 households at each pantry. Along with the requirement to be present to receive the food giveaways, recipients must bring proof of ID because only Delaware residents can receive the food. For the dates for the upcoming food giveaways in Kent and Newcastle counties, check the food bank's website at fbd.org. It's a month off, but for those making holiday plans, officials from the city of Newark announced the annual 4th of July fireworks will return to the University of Delaware's athletic complex on Friday, July 2nd. It will be a fireworks-only event, and there will be no vendors or entertainment present. Free parking will be available and viewing from individual vehicles will be permitted. Parking lots surrounding the University of Delaware Stadium, the Bob Carpenter Center, and the Woods lot off of Route 4 will be open for the event, but people must remain inside their vehicles. And pets and alcohol are prohibited. The rain date is set for July 5th. A scary moment prompted Wilmington firefighters to remind residents to regularly clean filters and ductwork on their dryers. That after a fire broke out in a home on the 400 block of West 21st Street on Monday. When firefighters arrived, they found heavy smoke coming from the basement. The dryer was destroyed, but thanks to the quick work of the firefighters, the flames were quickly extinguished and no one was hurt. According to the U.S. Fire Administration, there are 2,900 dryer fires each year, and of those fires, 34% of the users are failing to clean their dryer. The bottom line, clean your dryer lint filters after each laundry load and clean your ductwork every year. And one more life-saving tip, always turn off your dryer when leaving your home or sleeping. Speaking of tips, you may want to stock up on the Forever stamps. The U.S. Postal Service says it plans to raise the price of a first-class postage stamp to 58 cents from 55 cents to offset falling revenues and volumes. According to the Postal Service, mail volume has dropped by 28% in the past 10 years and continues to fall. Prices for postcards, international letters, and other services will increase as well. All effective August 29th. Coming up, a look at local and national sports, so stay with us.
There was a time in my life where I was extremely homesick. I decided that I needed a pet. When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. He jumped up and kissed me and jumped right into my arms. I immediately went up to the volunteers at the shelter and said, I want him, he's gotta come home with me. Now I'm anything but lonely. Every day with Turtle is a perfect day and keeps me company when I'm doing schoolwork. I like it when he jumps up on the table too. He is a veggie thief. He's an incredible companion and my best friend. Can't say that I've met anybody that doesn't love him too. When I adopted Turtle, I discovered all the things that make him unique. He's a little bit of a lot of things, but mostly he's all pure love.
Hello, I'm Grace Otley for DETV with your Delaware weekend forecast. In Newcastle County, expect a wet day on Thursday with variable clouds and scattered thunderstorms and the potential for severe thunderstorms with a high of 79 degrees. And Friday looks to be not much of an improvement with partly cloudy skies with scattered thunderstorms mainly in the morning and a high of 82 degrees. On Saturday, it promises to be mainly sunny with a high of 87 degrees. And Sunday appears to be the nicest day with mainly sunny skies and high temperatures of 87 degrees. Now, moving to Kent County, thunderstorms are likely Thursday morning with a chance of scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon. And temperatures are expected to reach 79 degrees. And on Friday, look for scattered thunderstorms in the morning with cloudy skies later in the day. And Saturday looks to be nice with abundant sunshine and a high of 87 degrees. And on Sunday, temperatures are set to reach around 90 degrees with sunny skies and a few clouds. But I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's very little sun called for over the next 3 days in Sussex County. On Thursday, thunderstorms are likely in the morning with a chance of scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon, and storms may contain strong gusty winds with high temperatures that are expected near 80 degrees. And on Friday, thunderstorms are also expected in the morning, with cloudy skies later that day and a high of 82 degrees. And on Saturday, some clouds in the morning will give way to mainly sunny skies for the afternoon, and temperatures will reach around 88 degrees. And finally, on Sunday, meteorologists are calling for partly cloudy skies with a high near 90 degrees. And this has been your weekend forecast from DETV. Thanks for watching.
The COVID-19 vaccines can be our chance to get back to our plans, to get back to each other, to life. But it's okay to have questions, like, how were the vaccines tested? In rigorous clinical trials among adults of diverse backgrounds. Find the latest information at getvaccineanswers.org.
The COVID-19 vaccines are going to help us all get back to the moments we miss.
It's totally normal to have questions. I did too. That's why it's so important to get informed.
Ask your doctor and get the facts. It's up to you.
Welcome back. Nick Alessandrini is here with the latest in sports. Nick?
Thanks, Lauren. And we were able to finish up our postseason playoffs here for our spring sports. But let's begin with the Philadelphia 76ers. And the day started off with bad news for the Sixers fans as the MRI on Joel Embiid's knee revealed a small tear in his meniscus. So Embiid would be out last night for Game 5 and considered day-to-day here in the playoffs. So the Sixers would have to lean elsewhere in Game 5 at home against the Wizards, and guys would have to step up. And Seth Curry was the man last night. He scored the first 12 points for the Sixers in the third quarter and would finish with a playoff high 30 points. Tobias Harris also added 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. And of course, Ben Simmons, dealing with more scrutiny this week, had another playoff triple-double. He finished with 19, 10, and 11, and the Sixers outscored the Wizards 64-49 in the second half on their way to a 129-112 victory. So the Sixers will now move on, advance to round 2, where they will meet the Atlanta Hawks, who beat the New York Knicks last night. They win that series 4-1. So something to look forward to here for the Sixers shortly. We had a Memorial Day baseball title game due to inclement weather on Saturday, but it could not have been a better night for baseball. Number 5 DMA and number 10 and defending champion Appoquinimink put on a show for a record crowd at Frawley Stadium. Over 2,400 in attendance, the largest crowd for a championship baseball game in Delaware history. Both schools had their aces on the mound in Evan Bolden and Kevin Williams, but it was the Seahawks who jumped out to an early lead. RBIs from sophomore Tyler August and senior Mason DeLuca gave DMA a 2-0 lead after 1 inning of play. Then in the second, Appo would get on the board. Austin Lutz, the catcher, would start the inning with a single. Pinch runner Dylan Peden would eventually come around on a DMA throwing error. That would cut the lead to 2-1. We'll fast forward to the third, and the Seahawks would add on there as well. They would score 3 more runs on 4 walks, an intentional walk, a bunt single, then a sac fly from Mason McCluskey. The lead was now 5-1. Appo would cut into the lead one more time in the fourth innings. It was Lutz again. He would double, then courtesy runner Peden would score again, this time on a Preston line box single, 5-2. But DMA, they would not let up all night long. They would add 3 more in the fourth inning with the help of an error, another walk, and they hit 2 batters to score 6 runs in back-to-back innings. DMA needed just 2 hits thanks to 7 walks and 2 batters that were hit by pitches. Appo would load the bases in the 5th inning but wouldn't be able to get a runner across, and then the Jags would try and change that momentum in the 6th. Appo would score 3 runs. It was Preston Lineback with a single, and then Keegan Miller with an RBI single as well. That cut that deficit to 8-5, but that's as close as they would get. DMA would add 1 more insurance run in the 6th, and they held on to win the school's first ever baseball state championship 9-5. Congrats, DMA. Another great game on the softball field. It was number 1 Sussex Central. They met with number 3 Caravel in what would become a title classic. The teams went 11 innings. They battled it out 0-0. Madge Layfield and Jessica Walter both threw phenomenal games. Layfield for the Golden Knights struck out 24 batters. She gave up just 6 hits. Caravel's Jessica Walter, she struck out 12 batters while just allowing 7 hits. The game was tied 0-0 in extras in the 9th inning. Sussex Central had a runner on third when Caravel center fielder Kendall Brown made a diving catch on a liner to center that was able to then double up the runner at third. Then the Bucks would take that momentum to the offensive side. They would strike in the top of the 11th. Veronica Diamidi would lead off with a hit to center that would turn into a double that the ball dropped into shallow center field. Then with one out, Brooke Holdsworth would single and drive in Diamidi for the game-winning run. A 1-0 victory for Caravel, and that would be the school's 11th softball state title. It was revenge time for Salesianum last week when Sally's and Cape met in the lacrosse state title game at Dover High School. Sally's, seeded second, would take on the number 5 seed and defending champion Cape Henlone Vikings. It was a rematch of the 2019 state title game, which Cape won 12-10. This time, Sally's would come out on fire. They won all the faceoffs early and netted 6 goals to take a 6-1 early lead. Cape would climb back in it by the half, narrowing that deficit to 7-4. Then Cape would score 3 more and tie the game at 7 with just 12 minutes to play. Matt Riley and Coley Bushweller would add goals for the Sows before Dylan Mooney scored twice himself to give the Sows a 12-8 lead. Cape would try and come back, scoring goals from Hank D'Ambrogi and Gabe Best, but it wouldn't be enough. Sally's would hold on 12-10. They best Cape for the 2021 Lacrosse State Championship. Kalen Driggs, he led all scorers. He had 4 goals, and Jaden Davis scored 3 times for Cape in the loss. The Pandas successfully defended their D1 soccer title on Tuesday, a thriller with an upcoming team in Smyrna. Padua needed a 78th minute goal from Anna Poland to secure the Pandas' 11th title with a 2-1 victory. Brianna Hallow netted a goal home in the 6th minute to get things started for Padua, and Smyrna would tie the game when Mackenzie Martin found the back of the net from about 20 yards out near the end of the first half. Padua would apply the pressure in the second half, but it would take that goal with 2 minutes to play from Pullman to secure the victory for Padua. In the D2 soccer final, it was number 1 Caravel that would take home the school's 6th championship in 6 championship appearances with a 3-2 win over number 2 ranked St. Mark's. Caravel was able to jump out to a 3-0 lead early and was able to hold off 2 late goals from the St. Mark's Spartans to clinch that title. Caravel's Caitlin St. Ledger would find the back of the net twice, one from more than 30 yards out, and Anaya Price also scored for the Bucks in the victory. And if you know girls lacrosse, well, you know how good Cape Henlopen is. The Vikings took home their 12th straight state title, and they have won 153 straight games over Delaware program opponents. They beat Tatnall 17-10 at Dover High School last week. The Vikings got 3 goals from Kelly Bragg and 2 goals apiece from Emily Monagle, Lindsay Rambo, Carrie Clausius, and Elizabeth and Luis Rishko. And now, Lauren, back to you.
Thanks, Nick. I know lots of sports fans here are glad to have local scores and plays included in our DETV newscast. Well, summer is not only a great time for outdoor sports, it's also a great time for festivals, carnivals, and other major events. And while we can't wait to get back to that food and fun, some popular events aren't returning this summer due to COVID-19. There is some good news, though. We already know major events like Firefly, the Delaware State Fair, and the Freeman Arts Pavilion Show will return this summer. The bad news, the plug has been pulled on the Middletown Old Time Peach Festival. The event attracted about 27,000 people in 2019, according to organizers. Pride Month officially kicked off on Tuesday, but this year's festival has been moved to the fall due to COVID. The Delaware Pride Festival is the single largest LGBTQ event in the state. The event will now be held at Legislative Hall in Dover on October 2nd. And what about the pageants? It turns out there will be winners for both the Miss Delaware and the Miss Delaware's Outstanding Teen Pageants. COVID-19 prevented the Miss Delaware pageant from happening last year. 12 hopefuls will compete for a chance to become the 80th Miss Delaware, while 6 hopefuls will compete in the teen competition. According to the pageant's website, this year's contest will be held on June 25th at the Milton Theater. Of course, we'll bring you updates as they are announced. There are also a number of local events to observe the Juneteenth holiday this year. A little history lesson. It was on June 19th, more than 155 years ago, when slaves in Texas learned they were free, some 2 years after slavery had officially been abolished. On Monday, June 7th at 12 noon, there will be a Juneteenth flag raising at the Route 9 Library in Newcastle. And on Thursday, June 10th at 7 p.m., a virtual Juneteenth male talent showcase is planned. That's not all. On Sunday, June 13th at 3 p.m., the Juneteenth Family Enrichment Program and Pageant will be held at the downtown DoubleTree Hotel in Wilmington. Another eye-opening residential complex has been added to downtown Wilmington's landscape. It's filled with slick amenities, including a rooftop deck and a fitness center with Peloton equipment. It already has a handful of residents who love living downtown with easy access to the train station and I-95. It's been a doggone good week for the Delaware Humane Association and the Delaware SPCA. The two organizations announced plans to merge. The no-kill shelters will continue operating in their current locations, but the executive director of the Delaware Humane Association says the merge just makes sense.
The reality is we all, animal lovers, just want to help animals, and they want to make sure animals are well taken care of. And so we can do that more effectively together by combining our resources and combining our strengths and, just bringing together, all of our greatest assets.
The SPCA and the Delaware Humane Association merge will begin in the fall. That's our Week in Review. I'm Lauren Wilson with the DETV News team. We'll see you next time.
DETV News is brought to you by DART, Delaware Public Transit Service, moving you forward.